This video is going to discuss using variables to write pattern rules. Let's first start off with a couple of definitions. So the first term that you need to know is variable. And a variable is either a letter or a symbol, such as A, B, or X, that represents a number. The second definition is an algebraic expression, and what this is a combination of one or more variables. It may also include numbers and operation signs. For example, I could have 2 times n plus 5 as an algebraic expression, and what this means is 2 times a figure number plus 5. When we start looking at algebraic expressions, variables that represent quantities that are multiplied together are often written without a multiplication sign between them. So in the last example, we had 2 times n plus 5. So the way we're going to write it now would be 2n plus 5. So we no longer put the multiplication symbol. We just have it as 2n. So this means 2 times a number plus 5. When we describe a pattern with an algebraic expression, we are going to be using the letter n as our variable to represent a term number. In our table, we have the term number on the left and the term value on the right. To help you create the algebraic expression, I want you to remember the word dino. In dino, the DI is going to stand for difference between the terms. N is your N, your term number. And then the O stands for 1 before the first term, or we can also call it the zero term. Okay, so let's try the dino out. So here I have figure number 1, 2, and 3, and the number of blocks that were needed for each of the figures. So in figure 1, there were 3 blocks needed. In figure 2, there were 4 blocks needed. So I need to figure out how many blocks will I need for figure 3. So the first thing I do is I find the difference between the terms. So from 3 to 4, the difference is plus 1. So that means when I go from here to here, I need to do plus 1. So that means my answer is going to be 5. So that's my table, but now I need to figure out the algebraic expression. So first I put what was my difference between the terms, that was 1. Then I write down the n right next to it. And then we have to add in the zero term. To add in the zero term, we go backwards. So instead of adding 1, I'm now going to work backwards to find my zero term. And I'm going to subtract 1 from 3. So 3 minus 1 is 2. So my answer then becomes 1n plus 2, which is essentially 1 times a number plus 2. Now I could use this algebraic expression to figure out the number of pattern blocks that would be needed for any figure number that I wanted. Okay, let's practice. So if this was my sequence, 4, 9, 14, 19. So this is the first term, this is the second term, third term, and fourth term. So I'm going to see what the difference is, DI, first, right? D-I-N-O, dino. So first my difference in is from 4 to 9. What do I have to do to go from 4 to 9? I have to add 5. What about to get to 9 to 14? Again, I add 5. And then 14 to 19, I add 5. So that means my DI is going to be 5. Then I place my N. That comes next. And then I need to identify what my 0 term is. So the way you do that is I work backwards. So instead of adding 5, I now am going to work backwards and subtract 5 from this number, from the 4. So 4 minus 5 ends up being -1. So my 0 term would be -1. So now I do -1, stands for -1. So my algebraic expression is 5n minus 1. All right, last example. So my sequence is 17, 14, 11. So this is my first term, this is my second term, and here's my third term. So I have to do D-I-N-O. So first, my difference in DI, difference in my terms. So how did I go from 17 to 14? I had to subtract 3. How did I go from 14 to get to 11? Again, I subtracted 3. So that means my DI is -3. Then I put my N. And now I need to work backwards to identify my 0 term. So my 0 term would be 17 minus, 17 plus 3. Because I was subtracting 3, now I'm going to work backwards and I'm going to add 3. So 17 plus 3 is actually 20. So my 0 term is 20. So it would be plus 20. So now I can use this algebraic expression to figure out any figure number that I wanted. That's it. Now it's your turn to do the practice sheet. And if you have any questions, please let me know so I can help you.